Jane here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different than our normal. I want your advice, and I'm hoping that I can learn a lot from you about something that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is rats.
Pictures and patterns put into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soft spoken.
Okay, so let me explain because obviously that was a little bit unusual. I am looking at in the next year or so getting a new pet. We have a hamster right now, and she is getting older. She's about a year and a half, and I would say the typical lifespan for a hamster is 2 to 3 years. I've had hamsters in the past before. They typically 2 to 3 years was a good run for a hamster. And she's also like, she's been through wet tail when she was a pup, so she maybe doesn't have the best health anyway. But we've already started to just kind of look at what our next pet is. And when we decided that we didn't want another hamster, we decided that, we really wanted to research a new kind of pet and decide what we wanted. And I have kind of stumbled across rats, and I think rats is going to be our next choice. But I would like some input and information if you can give it. Also, like if you have links to YouTubers who talk about rats. I've already checked out a lot of videos, but like maybe you know somebody that I don't or have seen videos that I haven't, and can give me advice. So let me tell you a little bit about our life and situation. Growing up, I always had a lot of pets. It was just something in our family that we did. We were pet people. At one point, I shared my room with 40 hamsters and 30 guinea pigs. By today's standards, they were not getting ideal care. I'll be really honest with you. But I was a kid, I was 9, and we were breeding hamsters for 4-H. And, it was a learning process, part of my homeschooling. And like, we were following the recommendations of the books at the time. And this was the 90s. I am 40 years old. Okay. Back then, they were like, it's okay. Just, a shoebox is fine if they can't chew it. Like a plastic shoebox is fine. Obviously, we know so much more about animal husbandry now. So I had not had any pets for the last 12 years ish. So prior to in my adult life, I didn't have as many pets as when I was a kid. When I first turned 18, I did have a ton of pets, and then we unfortunately had a foreclosure on our house and on our first house, and it was a rough time, and we had to rehome all of our pets because we were basically homeless for a little while. We did end up getting a place, but it was a small apartment and not suitable for the pets that we had after losing our house. So all that to say, since that time, I really haven't had pets. We had a dog, and unfortunately, when we had our kids, she could not adjust to life as with the kids, and so we rehomed her for her safety as much as the kids because she was a little dog. She was only 5 pounds, and my kids like would have killed her. So they just would not have handled this 5 pound dog. I had twins, and I was also when they were born, I was going through a divorce. It was a rough time. So I had her, and I rehomed her, but that was like the only pet that I really have had as an adult, with the exception of 2 guinea pigs that we didn't have long. Unfortunately, when I was going through my divorce, my guinea pigs stayed with my husband. And then he was supposed to bring them to me to live with me, but they passed away before that. He says of a spider bite. I don't know the circumstances. We were going through a separation. Maybe he just got rid of them so that I don't want to assume anything. I just think it was crazy that both of them died from spider bites like days apart. But anyway, so I haven't had a lot of pets. About a year and a half ago, one of our friends found a hamster on the side of the road. And he couldn't keep her, didn't need another pet, but wanted to rehome her. And so we volunteered to take her. Unfortunately, due to having been on the side of the road and possibly other things, she had health issues. And about 3 weeks to a month after getting her, she appears to have suffered a stroke. Now, we didn't have a necropsy done, so I can't guarantee that it was a stroke, but all the signs and symptoms were like a stroke. We had noticed that she was a little bit lopsided. She was having like a little bit of staggering stuff going on, so we called the emergency vet. But by the time like we'd talked to them and stuff, she'd already like gone into a coma, and we knew that even if we took her up to the emergency vet there, it was a hour drive to the emergency vet, and we didn't figure she was going to make it, and she didn't. So we ended up going about another month, and I said, I want to have pets again. I miss having pets. It's been something that we haven't really done. My partner isn't a huge animal person. He's on the autism spectrum. And so, like, pets are just not something that he is a huge fan of in his world. But he's had hamsters before, so he was very excited about our hamster, or at least, as excited as he could get. He was fine with it. He was fine with it, I should say. I wanted a boy hamster, but there was none locally that I could find at the pet stores. And also, we'd reached out to a couple breeders, but all the breeders that I could find that lived near us weren't actively breeding anymore. Like, a lot of the hamsteries had shut down. So anyway, we ended up going to Petland, which is a local pet store, and I realized my mistake already. You don't need to come for me. And we got a hamster. Within 3 days, she had wet tail. And for those who don't know, wet tail is basically very bad diarrhea in a hamster, and it can kill them. So we took her to the vet. The vet was able to give her medications and fix her. However, getting twice daily antibiotics for 2 weeks from people you barely know who have to hold you down and force this in your mouth was not really the impression that we would have liked to have made on this hamster. And I am pretty sure it traumatized her severely. So at the end of the day, she has not been a particularly cuddly friendly hamster. She has a hamster that seems to have a lot of anxiety. We had been working with her initially really hard to try to like get used to us, but she was very resistant to those efforts. So we would like, what I would do is before I went to work at night, I would take her out and give her a treat and hold her as for like a minute. That's as long as she would tolerate before she would like try to jump out of my arms. She didn't bite. She's a very good girl. She doesn't bite. She's not aggressive. She just freaks out. She's like, I don't want to be held. I don't want to do this. So anyway, we were doing that. Well, then she had started to like stay in her bed and not get up. And we had made the decision to just, respect her wishes and not push her. Like, if she was already up and if she would come up to us, that was fine. But we didn't want to like get in her bed and wake her up and be like, you have to come out. So I started like going to work, and I wouldn't see her, and she wouldn't come out for her treat. And I was like, okay, I guess she just doesn't want this. So when she comes out, I say hi to her, I speak softly to her, but she really doesn't like a lot of interaction. She almost never comes out of her bed, her little house, unless everybody's asleep except for my partner, because funny enough, she thinks she's my partner's hamster. Like, I think it's because she knows he will not pick her up. He will pet her, but he will not pick her up. He is kind of like, he doesn't want to pick her up because he's a little bit of afraid of her teeth, because she bit me once when she was sick. And when we first had her, she bit me while she was sick. And after that, like, he's like, no, I'm kind of scared. So he will not pet her or like pick her up, but she loves him. Like, she will come out and she'll ask for treats from him when nobody else is around. Ain't nobody else gonna give her treats, but she'll ask for treats from him. And we also have a hamster ball, and I know that those are so controversial. She loves her ball. And like, when we found out that they were controversial, we'd already been doing the ball thing, so we just have kept doing it because she genuinely loves it. Like, she will get up and request her ball. Like, she has body language and a whole language system with him, and is like, I would like to go in my ball now. So he will let her climb into the ball. And that was one of the things, like, when we learned about it being an issue, we were like, we have to make sure that we're not traumatizing her by doing this, and that she wants to go in the ball. Oh no, she does. We open the cage and she climbs into her ball. If she asks for it, she still has to climb into it and prove that she really enthusiastic consent. We are enthusiastic consent about this ball thing. And then let her run around, and then when he's done, he opens it and, sits it in the cage and she gets out. So anyway, regardless, that's kind of been our background with animals. Because our hamster is kind of antisocial, and again, probably from trauma, we looked and decided that while we've both had hamsters in the past, both me and my partner, I didn't really want another hamster, because with hamsters, it's kind of a toss-up. Sometimes you get real sweet, cuddly, loving hamsters, and sometimes you get kind of standoffish hamsters, kind of like cats. Hamsters are very similar to cats in that way. You have the ones who are cuddly and snuggly and just love you, and then you have the ones that think you're their servant, and they don't really have a use for you unless you're giving them treats. And because we have a small home, we really can't have multiple animals, or multiple cages anyway. So we made the decision that, or I made the decision that, because I'm the one who really wants a pet, I don't want another hamster. So we were researching, and we want something that is, I still like rodents. We can't have a dog or cat because of it costs more on our rental agreement, but we can have a pocket pet without it costing more. And additionally, the other thing is, like, we don't have a large yard, so a dog would be very problematic. And then as far as a cat, we don't have a good space for a litter box. We've kind of gone over these things together. So we've decided to continue to stick with rodents, because I love rodents, so it works. But we are really looking for a rodent that is sweet and cute and cuddly. And I love the look of rats. I love rodents, so this isn't a real surprise. But anyway, so I'm really interested in trying to get rats, because I've heard that they are kind of personality-wise like puppies, and I love dogs. Like, in a perfect world, I would have a dog that was, sweet and cute and cuddly, and I'm looking for a pet that will sit on my lap and let me love it while I watch TV. Like that. That would be my ideal. So that's kind of what we're looking at with rats. We are looking at possibly getting 2 or 3. I know they have to be in groups. My kids may be going to live with their dad. And so if they go live with their dad, we'll have a little bit more one-on-one time, but we'll probably only get 2 rats, because I don't know if by myself I can handle and give the attention to more than 2. But if my kids continue to live with me, and this choice won't be made till spring anyway, we'll get 3 rats. So 1 for me and 1 for each of my kids, but they'll live together, and don't worry, I'll supervise them taking care of it, because that's a big deal to me. Like, being an ethical, conscious pet owner now is a very big, important thing to me, and making sure we have what we need to care for them properly. That being said, I have been having a lot of struggles with finding good information. So I'll find people who say one thing, and people who say another thing, and people who say, yes, this is a good cage, and then people who say, no, that's a terrible cage. Like, I literally have talked to 2 different breeders, and one recommended a cage and the other said, no, I would never give somebody one of my babies that had a cage like that. And so it's very confusing. I've actually spoken with 3 different breeders. I think we know what breeder we want to go with, but it's still a little bit of question. But we are in the Columbus, Ohio area. So if you are a breeder in the Columbus, Ohio area, and you have a rattery, please feel free to reach out. But also, if you have any knowledge about rats, if you have a personal history with rats, please leave me links, leave me information, tell me anything I would need to know when making this decision, because it's definitely one that is important to me. I know I've been deep diving videos. I've told my partner I'm a little hyper fixated. He's like, we're not even getting one until the hamster dies. That's like probably another year or so. So I mean, like, it's gonna be a while, and I understand that, but like, I'm trying to learn all I can before we make this leap. But it's just been complicated, because again, we've talked to 3 different breeders, and 3 different breeders have had different things to say about the right and best care, the standards of care, what to expect, what to look at. One of the breeders really stood out to us as being one that we'd like to work with in the future, but and they are a rattery that's a little ways away from us. But needless to say, it's just been a journey. So if you have personal experience, please leave it in the comments. If you have any links to videos that you'd like me to see, I might have already seen them because I have been doing a deep dive, but just in case, like if you really have a recommendation, please leave it in the comments. You know, if you have, even if it's a review of cages, and we're really having a struggle finding cages, because like I said, the one um, the one rattery said, "Oh, this is the cage I recommend." I had some concerns about the cage actually because it had a little bit bigger bars than I've heard recommended online. Then another person had said a different cage, and then the other one we talked to said a different cage, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like nobody agrees. And so we're trying to do our best and do our research. So if you have reviews on different rat cages, that would be great. If you have um, anything on like, I don't know, we've kind of done a lot of the pros and cons lists that are available on YouTube about having rats. Just, you know, anything that might help educate us would be appreciated. So reaching out to my community for advice, I appreciate any information you can give me. And if you made it to the end of this video, please leave in the comments a little mouse or rat emoji, along with any advice or links that I should look into. Thank you so much for helping me figure this out. It means the world to me that when it is time, we have as much knowledge as possible. Oh, also, if you have books to recommend about rat care or experiences with rats, or like rats for the chicken soup for the rat owner's soul, or any books like that, please leave those in the comments as well. You know I love my books. All right, guys, it's been Jane. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.